Hey guys, welcome back to the neighborhood. I'm Jason.
I'm Michelle.
And today we want to talk about our continued journey up the Northeast. We spent some time in New York, Connecticut, and Rhode Island at the end of August into September. Is that right? Into August? No, end of July into August. And we spent some time in those three states. So we want to talk to you about that.
So the first state that we went to during that time frame was New York, in Harpersville, New York. And we went to Animal Adventure Park. So for all of those little zoo geeks out there, a couple of years ago they had this big YouTube live videos where you could watch a giraffe that was expecting a little baby. And I was one of those geeks that kind of watched every once in a while on there until the birth of her little baby. So we actually got to go to that zoo and see April and by now I've forgotten their names, but Tajari and Azizi. So we got to see them and go throughout the zoo, and it was a really cool zoo. But it was really fun to go there. It was a small zoo, but with what they had and how they had it set up, it was very enjoyable. So if you make your way out there to that part of New York, definitely recommend the zoo.
Yeah, I like that. I guess the bison was probably my favorite. Wild animal, I guess. So I look forward to seeing some more bison when we get out west and seeing them in the wild. Just maybe not too close. I've seen some videos of that can go bad, but that was neat. I guess part of that excitement while we were there, just a public service announcement for all of you guys. If you're feeding turtles, don't get your finger too close to the. We were feeding some turtles that were probably, maybe 20-pound, 30-pound turtles. They were big. They were big turtles. And Ethan,
he got attacked.
He was handing it some lettuce, and it grabbed his finger, and I mean, it took a chunk off his finger. He yelled for a second, and then he started bleeding, and then I looked at it, and it just laid his skin open on his finger. So he got bit by one of the turtles there. So
of all the animals,
be careful. Yeah, be careful. You don't get
attack.
Yeah, don't get mauled by a turtle. So hope you can run away faster than the turtle can. Anyway. But yeah, so public service announcement: don't put your finger in the. And I was sitting there doing the same thing. As the funny thing, I was like right in front of it and everything. Could have bit me just as easily. I didn't think nothing of a dang turtle biting me, but they'll bite you. So anyway, so the next stop we went to was in Connecticut. We stayed at a nice family campground in Connecticut for a few days. Had a really nice site there. Had like a river right behind our camper, and the boys could go play in it. And it was a nice campground. We liked it. I think it was called Nickerson Family Campground.
Mm-hmm.
And we went to Hartford, Connecticut, and like you said, we got to visit Mark Twain's house. Just me and the boys, and that's a really neat place to go see his house and where his family lived and where he worked, and they had a little museum there. But going through the house and doing the tour, listening to the guy tell the stories of Mark Twain, and being like the first American comedian, kind of, because he liked to throw big dinner parties, and he would stand up and kind of give a speech, a talk during, like a 30-minute talk during these dinner parties, and they would always be funny, the stories he would tell and stuff. So a lot of people kind of coined him the first comedian, stand-up comic, because they didn't have that back in those days. But he was a funny guy and an interesting fella, for sure. And so that was really cool. The house was beautiful. All the craftsmanship that went into that house was really neat to see. So if you check out, if you're in Connecticut or by Hartford, go check out Mark Twain's house for sure. That was a really cool place. And the next stop, we were in Rhode Island for a few days. And we got to go into, we decided we only had a few days there, so we went into Newport, Rhode Island. Very neat area. It was a Saturday, I believe. It was busy in the summertime. It's an island, so you got to go over a bridge, and it's just kind of congested and a lot of people around. But there's a lot of shops and different things to see out there. The mansions, the ocean. You get to on the Atlantic Ocean shore there. We got to see some of that and see some waves crashing on the rocks. And Michelle's gonna tell you about the cool not national, but the state park that's there that we went to that we found.
So yeah, as we were driving along the beach area of Newport, which, like Jason said, is an island, we actually came across a state park, which is Fort Adams, and we decided to go into there. So we did a tour of the state park. Of Fort Adams, and it is actually a fort built right there on the ocean side. And it was one of the first forts that they actually built in the United States. And I can't remember the French army or whatever military guy that they had that developed
he designed all the forts.
But it was just amazing the amount of nobody's getting in here details that he had. It was just layers after layers of protection that they had on this fort. And if you came across the outer portion of it, which I don't remember all of the names that they had for these sections, but if you came across the outer one, our tour guide was saying this is what you would expect when you came across the next one.
You'd be dead here.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't even get to this spot because you'd have been dead at the other.
Right.
Before you could even get to there. And it kind of went on and layers and layers.
And of course we started from the inside out.
Worked our way out.
But yeah, I couldn't imagine going through, from the outside going in. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you wouldn't make it. And
it never got attacked.
Yeah. So that's why it's not a national park.
Because it wasn't in a
Because
battle.
There was never a battle there. Nobody ever attacked it. Yeah. But it was really neat. I think one of the main things that we enjoyed the most was being able to go into the tunnels. I believe they called them tunnel rats.
The people,
the soldiers that worked there, and they had no lanterns, simply because that's where they stored all of their gunpowder. You don't want any lanterns down there.
Well, they stored the gunpowder in the tunnels just in case they needed to blow the tunnels.
Yeah, if they had somebody.
So people didn't get invade and dig their way into the tunnels. They had all the gunpowder stored in strategic areas, and they had these guys, the soldiers would go in there and spend like 8 hours a day, complete darkness, and just listening to see if they could hear anybody tunneling. If they heard digging, then they would tell somebody and decide what they wanted to do. And one of those things that they could do is blow the tunnels and then, kill all the people that were out there digging. So they couldn't have lanterns, and they didn't have flashlights back then. So they had that fire was their light. So they had to do that in the dark in ththese tunnels that we went through. So
yeah, I think
crazy
the
job.
I think the short tunnel, because they had them at two different heights, but one of them was like 4'5", I think.
Something like that, yeah.
I'm short, I'm 5'2", but I had to duck in them.
I was like really ducking to get through, walk through the section we went to. But.
And it was cool down there too. It stayed a constant like 60 degrees, I think. It was humid down there, and there was definitely water. You could tell the water was coming through the walls a little, but it almost felt like you were in a cave down there. We had little flashlights, and we got to go through a little portion of it. That was really cool, but that fort was just awesome. So now if we see forts, around there, we kind of want to go to those. So
like Rhode Island and Connecticut, we were just there for a few days at each one. We didn't really plan out anything, so to speak. We didn't spend time sitting down seeing what was in the area really. So those places we kind of just we saw something or somebody mentioned. The guy at the campground in Connecticut actually mentioned the Mark Twain house. I didn't know anything about it. So it was because of him that we went to the Mark Twain house, and we just decided to go to Newport, Rhode Island. We were going to go to Providence, but we thought about going to Providence, but we decided to go to Newport, and we're glad we did. I mean, we want to go to Providence one day too, but we're glad we went to Newport. We didn't have any expectations of that area or anything. We didn't know what was there really. Michelle had kind of looked up and saw that the mansions were there, and those are really neat.
One of the houses
we just didn't,
was...
we didn't know what the area was like, but it was cool to find those things while we were there.
one of the mansions was The Great Gatsby was filmed there.
Yeah.
I can't remember if it was the black and
I
white
don't think it was
version.
I don't think it was the
or the new
DiCaprio one.
Yeah, I think it
was the older one.
Yeah, I think it was the black and white version from maybe the 50s that was filmed there. But yeah, they had several mansion houses there that you can actually buy tickets to tour. You could, I think it was 4 or 5 different houses that you can go into. We decided to not do that, but we went to the fort
A little
instead.
expensive for the 4 of us to go
Yeah.
into the house.
I would have liked to have done that, but we went to the fort and we were pleasantly surprised with that.
Yeah, it was really neat. The fort's right on the bay, so I mean, you're sitting there right at the water,
Yep.
and you can see the bridge you have to drive over. Sailboats everywhere. I mean, it's a big sailing area, and it's really cool to see all that. It was great. It was a great day to spend out there. We definitely need to go back in that area sometime and spend some more time. It's beautiful. So now every time somebody mentions that area or when they mention Rhode Island, I'm like, you got to go to Newport. So you got to check that out. It's really cool. So, anyways, that wraps up our video. Hopefully you'll see us next week. Trying to get updated on our videos. We're closing in on the end of we're calling it season 2, our Northeast trek. And we're closing in on finishing that up and getting home for the holidays here soon. So look forward for maybe the next video next week. We hope we can do another video by next week and update you. And next week's going to be Cape Cod, Massachusetts, and Boston. We went into Boston for the day too. So, all right, we'll talk to you guys later. Bye.
Bye. I don't think that it meant to bite him, you know, it was ready to eat some lettuce.
I'm not going to get into the psychology of a turtle, so it may be a serial killer, who knows.